Well, hello, Pittsburgh, and welcome back to the QBurgh podcast. I'm Jeff Friedman, and we're coming to you from the QBurgh studio here in beautiful downtown Pittsburgh. If you are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and yes, even an ally, then this next program should not only be entertaining, but informative as well. If you're tuning in on YouTube, you'll notice that not only can you listen to the QBurgh podcast on your favorite podcast app, but now you can also watch. More on that in a bit. Today on the podcast, I'm joined by Jim Sheppard of QBurgh and our newest member of the QBurgh family, Nebby, Nick, Tommarello, and we'll be chatting about the past year in review and what's ahead in 2025 for the Pittsburgh LGBTQ community. And with that, we'll be right back.
Today's podcast is brought to you by us, QBurgh. QBurgh is your source for all things LGBTQ news and community resources in Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania. If it's queer, it's here. From our daily news, our podcast, our community calendar, our community directory of LGBTQ resources and small businesses, and our newsletters, QBurgh is free and always will be free to the community. Our important work of local queer journalism is supported by our generous advertisers and the support of readers and listeners like you. If you'd like to make a donation or contribution to QBurgh, you can visit qburgh.com/support and make a contribution in any amount. That's qburgh.com/support. Thank you so much.
And Happy New Year, and welcome to QBurgh's podcast. This is going to be an incredible year for QBurgh. We actually have our own Project 2025 that's going on, and we're going to have some great, wonderful stuff happening here at QBurgh, even on qburgh.com, on our newsletters. But let's get started here with our introductions, right? So in the studio with us for the very, very first show is the QBurgh co-creator, Jim Sheppard. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me back, Jeff.
And we have a special guest, which we're going to tell you about here in 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. So something fun and exciting. Right. So Jim, 2024 was an incredible growth year for QBurgh.
Right. We had a lot of really great things going on. Our audience really grew on social media and the website and out in the community. And QBurgh's just been rocking and rolling all year. And I think 2025 affords us a lot of great new opportunities.
Right. We're going to springboard from that. And it's going to be an incredible growth year for us. We were actually part of an organization through the Association of Alternative Newspapers, and we were able to partner with them in our business plan for next year. And we have some great ideas that has actually started already for 2025. Mm-hmm. And one of them was expanding the newsletter.
Right. So now we used to have a newsletter every week on Fridays breaking down all the queer news going on in the city of Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania. But now we have a Thursday newsletter called What's Queer and Going On This Weekend, and it outlines all the LGBTQ-centered events going on around the city. That comes out every Thursday at 3 p.m. so we can have all your plans ready to go for the weekend.
Right. So not only with your Friday newsletter, which recaps everything, we now have the Thursday. So we would like to announce that. And then this, obviously, the podcast now being recorded. My podcast, which is more of a community outreach, community information podcast, will be happening twice a month still, but videotaped, which is kind of fun. And also on the videotape, or we're also adding a podcast.
Right.
So Jim, let's talk about you're adding a new podcast.
Well, first, it's wonderful to see everybody. If you're tuning in to us on YouTube, it's great to see you. Be sure to like and subscribe our new YouTube channel. It's great to have you here. Obviously, as Jeff mentioned earlier, we are still able to listen to our podcasts on all the podcast apps, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those different ones. But yes, I'm going to now have a monthly podcast episode where I'll be bringing guests in. A little bit different than Jeff's. We'll be talking about what's queer and going on in the city of Pittsburgh. We'll just have a little kiki and a vibe together about what's going on, talk about our guests, maybe play a few games, get a little silly with it, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
And just confirmed, right before we started recording, we're going to have the iconic Pittsburgh drag queen Indica joining me for the very first podcast.
Nice. Nice. Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And what is your first podcast land?
Well, we're recording it shortly, and it should be out maybe 1 week from today.
Right, right. So incredible. So, and it's done here again in our beautiful downtown studios.
Look at this.
I know. Look, isn't this great?
Fresh from Etsy.
I love it. We love it. So again, it's going to be an incredible growth year for QBurgh. And one of the other announcements that we would like to make on this broadcast is we have a new feature here.
Right. We've expanded the QBurgh family, and we've welcomed a new member to that family, and it's Nebby Nick.
Nebby
Hey,
Nick.
everyone.
Hi, Nebby.
Hello.
Hi, Nebby.
Hey, Jeff. I got to point out earlier you said videotape.
Yes.
I think that's a term that's used back in the day, Jeff.
Okay, you're going to find that a lot for me.
recording,
You're fine.
Not on tape anymore.
No.
But yeah, so good
Digital.
to be with you guys. I'm really excited about this project. So, Nebby Nick, what is that? Of course, Nebby, stealing from that Pittsburghese term. Nosy, inquisitive,
Right.
queer, in your face. What's going on? So I've been going to a few queer events that are happening within the city, and we're creating short videos for that for social media. So it'll be really cool, really engage you guys in the community and at all of the events that you can find on the wonderful calendar that you put together.
QBurgh.com.
QBurgh.com.
I know. We love Nebby Nick. So,
Love you guys.
And you've gone out a couple times, and I think by the time this is up, we'll have some very first Nebby Nick reels out there. So
yeah.
everyone will have a
Yeah.
taste of what's going on.
Yeah. I really loved my first assignment. That was cool, but I think we're going to chat
we're
about
going
that
to chat
here
about
later.
that, when we get through the year in review here for a little
Yeah.
bit. But no, this is going to be an incredible feature now by QBurgh. So look out for Nebby Nick. So
Oh, yeah, he'll be out and about, so make sure you annoy
Stop
him
by.
and say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Annoy me. Be Nebby with me.
right. So perfect. So the purpose of our very, very first podcast here is to talk about 2024 year in review. Right. So we kind of came up with a bunch of topics on QBurgh.com that were the most featured, the most well read, and what we would like to talk about here we feel is kind of important or very important to the community. So the very, very first one was in January of last year, the passing of Donnie Thinnis. He was a leader in our community. He was the owner of Donnie's, which is the Noré. It started out as the Noré. Interesting tidbit about that is the fact that when they were coming up with the name of the bar, they couldn't really decide on one. And someone had suggested that, well, it's on Heron Avenue. Let's just spell it backwards. And it was the Noré Club. It was an after-hours club mostly. And it was, when I was coming out, it was popular.
Right, so let's back up a little bit. Donnie's Place, the Noré, that opened back in the 1970s.
Noré, yes. And then at Donnie's Place, and then the upstairs had a couple iterations on what it was trying to be. It was a lesbian bar at one time. It was a country western. I remember coming back into town when I had lived out of town, and country western dancing on a 12 by 12 foot dance thing, which was pretty funny. It was like dancing on a postage stamp, right? And that was really great, though. It was a lot of fun. And then, of course, it had the main bar, and it had the basement.
The
Which
infamous
was,
basement.
Yes. Leather Central, I think, is what it ended up
Do
being.
tell, infamous?
Well,
It was a space for
adult entertainment.
Things to not be told.
Noted.
Male adult entertainment. So very interesting. Again, we have the article up on QBurgh.com. You can read about Donnie's. He was a wonderful, I want to say, contributor as far as organization for our community, in which he was also, Noré was part of the Tavern Guild, and the Tavern Guild was an association of organizations. We're talking about the 70s, 80s, 90s, of all of the bars would get together. Their big project that they did every year was the picnic, they call it now the Big Gay Picnic. It was just the gay picnic up in North Park. And it was basically our Pride Day.
Basically, Donnie was a pioneer for the community. Amongst a great group of individuals, Donnie was there and a part of it, leading the way, forming the early LGBTQ community of Pittsburgh.
Correct, forming a community. And also, lately, there's been this push to make Donnie's a historical landmark. So there's a push for that. So stay tuned for further news on QBurgh.com about that. So Let's see. What do we have next? On our list here, we have Jamie Stickle case.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jim, do you want to speak a little bit about the Jamie Stickle?
Yeah, so Jamie Stickle was a bartender in the community back in the early 2000s. She was very much loved of the community. A lot of times she was spearheaded like fundraisers for the AIDS and HIV epidemic at the time. She did fundraisers for breast cancer awareness, all kinds of different things like that in the community. Tragically, in February of 2002, she died. It was a very tragic incident. It remains an unsolved kind of case, like was someone responsible for her death? I believe she was found in a car that was on fire on the north side. And even now, over 20 years later, that crime is not solved. Interestingly, at the beginning of 2024, is a woman by the name of Jamie Stickle.
Same name.
Approached QBurgh and was like, "Hey, I'm trying to look into the death of Jamie Stickle." And at first, I was like, "Okay, this is some kind of sick online joke.
Right.
What is going on here?" Turns out Jamie Stickle from California just has the exact same name as Jamie here, and I guess they always see our Jamie's name whenever they Google themselves. So they started this new podcast called Girl with the Same Name. They actually came out here from California, interviewed QBurgh, interviewed members of the community, used QBurgh's archive to kind of research, some contemporary reporting from the early 2000s about what happened to Jamie. And they released their podcast this past year. They've really looked into a lot of nuances that surround the case, and they're continuing this year in 2025 with a second season.
Nice. And that's available, again, looking at QBurgh, we have links to this podcast.
Yeah, you can find the Jamie Stickle Same Name podcast linked up all over the QBurgh website. You can go on there and just search for it.
No, that's great. So also that came out in June of this year. June, we had Pride. Let's talk about Pride for a second, right?
Pride was huge this year.
Huge. So we issued another Pride guide. QBurgh had another Pride guide, which was distributed again throughout the whole city and all that. And we had somewhat good news, bad news, as our web, we crashed again.
Well,
right?
Well, it was the very first time we ever crashed.
Right. Well, yeah.
It's the first time we crashed. Usually
Crashed.
crash is a terrible thing. There was just so many people trying to look at QBurgh.com, get all this information about what's going on for Pride, all the different Pride events going on across the city. And it crashed. It killed our servers.
Great.
And I'm pulling my hair out. Jeff's like, "This is great. This is great." I'm pulling my
I thought it was exciting.
I'm pulling my hair out.
Too much traffic.
Did you lose anything though?
Everything was backed up.
Okay, good.
Fortunately.
Everything was backed up.
All right.
And I quickly got us over to a new server. It's lightning fast. They advertise themselves as NASA's a client of theirs, so we have space age technology
All right.
now. So
Yeah, we're not videotaped.
No.
Yeah.
No,
we're in
videotaped.
space.
We're space taped.
We're in space.
But it's incredible, and we noticed right away on the speeds and the linking and everything, and even just the hits that we got. We were wondering maybe we were using outdated, but it works out really well.
Yeah.
We're set for, I'd say, another 10 years, hopefully, with this.
Well, maybe we'll grow and get too
I
big.
know. Let's crash again, right?
We're gonna have all these videos.
True.
From Nebby Nick now.
Right.
Yes.
So again, it was a good news. It just happened at a bad time for us.
Worst time it could happen.
Right. Because, and then at Pride itself, a wonderful, wonderful June. We had a great Pride celebration. Everything went off really, really well.
Right.
We were very pleased about that. The Pride guide, again, was out and about, and we have a great tent. We got our branding and stuff, so come see us this year at Pride.
Right, you can't miss us. It is the most over-the-top decorated tent. You will find us.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. It's great. I love it.
If you think this is in your face, think of what our tent might be.
I have yet to see the tent, so I'll look forward to that.
Right, and that is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have an increase, and Nebby Nick will be there this year.
Oh, yeah.
All over, out and about. Look out. So, and then some sad news in June. On June 23rd, there was a trans girl, 14-year-old from Sharon, PA, Polly Likens, that was unfortunately she was murdered. So
And I think it's an important story. You know, it's horrible. but it's important that people know that there are these threats of violence against the LGBTQ community, especially the trans community. The rhetoric, in politics right now, in the public discourse, is just increasing these violent acts against trans individuals. And I'm glad that we reported on that story and so many people saw it,
right?
Because it's important,
right? And it hits home.
Mm-hmm. It was.
We
not that
hear
far
all
away.
these stories about trans women being killed and murdered, and it hit home.
Mm-hmm.
It hit home.
Well, and as a Gen Z queer, obviously, I think back to when you guys were younger, and how the queer population was really stigmatized and demonized, and now that's happening, but for trans people.
Correct.
And so I think we really have to be aware and cognizant of, still continuing with the fight. Right. And that while it may not be directly on us sexuality-wise, that they're just shifting that fear.
Right. And education is everything, and visibility, and mostly education, on educating. Right. So, again, stay tuned to QBurgh.com for updates on that story. And a fun story, talking about calling out people and educating people, WDVE. Do you want to talk about what happened with WDVE and PFLAG?
So PFLAG Pittsburgh was really the spearhead on this, and they recruited QBurgh and a whole bunch of other local organizations, including the mayor, too, and some other elected officials. We all wrote a letter to WDVE because at some point in August, there was a very transphobic broadcast that they had on their show on WDVE. And, you have to call people out because WDVE ended up apologizing for having that broadcast on, said they were going to do better work on having training for their employees and their station staff. They ended up meeting with PFLAG Pittsburgh and trying to do better.
And it was so the show is still, it's a syndicated show.
Right, it's a syndicated show. It's still on the air. WDVE does still air it, but I believe they're going to be cognizant of the content of the episodes, and if there is a problematic episode, not air that specific weeks.
Right, and so again, information is everything, right? So let's talk about another thing that QBurgh was helpful and instrumental in helping was a Disney tribute band.
So it seems a little weird to talk about a Disney tribute band.
Okay.
But there's a Disney tribute band called the Little Mermen. And they came to Pittsburgh a few years ago. And one of our writers, Roy, is, I guess we would classify as a Disney adult.
Okay.
Really into Disney.
A bit controversial. I don't know how I feel about Disney adults, but.
And so they come and they sing their, cover songs of the Disney hits or whatever, but they are very LGBTQ inclusive. Some of their shows do have drag queens perform as, say, Ursula or something like that. And we did a preview before they came to Pittsburgh the last time. But I guess our article ended up being picked up nationally at different places that were booking the Little Mermen, and conservative politicians and bigoted groups were using our article to say, oh, this is an inappropriate show for children to see.
How horrible. Right.
Well, it turns out all that extra publicity from QBurgh ended up increasing their ticket sales. And,
it doubled their sales, right? Doubled.
So we helped them out. We helped grow a little bit of a Disney adult fandom there.
Right. Love it. Love it. So let's go from growth to closures here. Unfortunately, we lost Cativo. We'll talk about the bar scene right now. We unfortunately lost Cativo as a bar.
Yeah, Cativo, while not specifically towards its end, had for a very, very long time been an unofficial lesbian bar. It has a punk scene. It has a lot of different shows. But that was a gathering place for the lesbian and sapphic communities. But they ended up going under new ownership, closing down for a while, reopening under a different name, and I don't know if they're specifically or anything like that inclusive of the community yet.
Right. But we do have a vibrant bar scene here in Pittsburgh. So we still have Blue Moon. We still have 5801, P-Town, Lucky's, which
Lucky's.
is still standing.
Somehow she is still standing there. Have you ever driven just past that and seen it sticking? Yeah, to me, that looks like a middle finger
Right.
to the gentrifiers all around her.
Yes.
Well, it kind of is.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you know Nancy, that's exactly what that is. So we love it. There's also a new bar, Mary's.
Mary's,
That's opened
yeah.
up in Bloomfield. So we're hoping to get more information on them. And then let's talk about Brewers.
Brewers, yeah.
Aw.
So, well, they sold. Carol, the longtime owner, the daughter of the longtime owner before her, sold the bar finally. But the new owners are promising, while there might be a new name, there might be a new vibe, might be new decorations around the place, it will still be an LGBTQ bar.
Right.
Nice.
Right. Which is good. So a little history of Brewers, which makes it really very, very interesting, is the fact is that the original owner, Andy Usner, was actually brought into the community as back when the softball league, the Still City Softball League, was formed back in 1983 was the first, 1982 was the first year. They had city cops as umpires, and Andy Usner was a city cop, and he was one of. And as a founder of the Steel City Softball League, he was one of our umpires. Later on, a few years later, he opened up a gay bar, or bought what is now Brewers, and there was actually a hotel on top. And during the AIDS crisis, Andy, there was a lot of discrimination going on in the HIV/AIDS community for not allowing housing or people actually getting kicked out for having HIV. They didn't renew leases. These people had nowhere to go. Right. Andy opened up the upstairs of Brewers as a hotel. They opened up these rooms to any HIV AIDS patients that actually needed them at a time when they were being discarded by everyone else.
Right.
So it was very welcoming. And he has continually, or the bar has continually helped people in that capacity. His daughter Carol took over the legacy. They've done incredible events on Thanksgiving and Christmas for years and years and years on giving back to the community for people that may not have somewhere to go.
Right.
Great, incredible legacy. We're going to do a little bit more story on Carol and Brewers, and hopefully in contact with the new owners, and give you updates on Brewers as they happen. Right. So let's get down to the big story here that's on the topic of everybody's mind, Lydia B. Collins.
Oh, Lydia.
Right?
Lydia B.
Let's talk about
Collins.
Lydia B. Collins, right? So
What's the
all right.
B stand for, Jeff?
I'm not going to say it. But go ahead.
Butthole.
Yeah, it does.
So you can talk about that a little bit, Nick, because
Yeah.
that was your first little assignment.
It was. I went to 5801 for the season premiere, and it was packed. The entire bar, upstairs, downstairs, everyone was there. Lydia was there, also two other great queens, and it was quite a bit surreal to see, you have a person in the bar and then see them on the TV.
Right.
And whenever she first walked out, everyone screamed. It was so loud. Everyone was proud, excited, and it's been 12 years?
Yeah,
or
about
so
12 years since Alaska was on the main series.
Right, since we had a queen from Pittsburgh on before. And it was great. I got to talk to her, ask her some fun, unique questions. She has a background studying cinema in college, and gets a lot of her inspiration and ideas from a few directors. And, she identifies herself as a raunchy, creative queen and takes a lot of her looks from films. The opening to the very first episode featured that Beetlejuice-esque costume, outfit, and that's also where she takes her name from. Lydia was the name of the daughter in the original Beetlejuice movie.
Really?
So her parents were there, a ton of family members. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it was Nebby Nick's debut.
It was, yes.
Right.
It was great. I was running around 5801 saying, "Excuse me, pardon me, got to get through here."
Being Nebby.
I was being very Nebby.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
The camera was in a lot of faces.
Good.
So,
Right.
yeah.
So I think there's going to be watch parties probably now in a lot of the bars.
Correct.
Every
Yeah, I
Friday,
think
right?
5801 every Friday is going to host a watch
I
party.
think B-Town is also doing a watch party.
No, I don't think we can expect Lydia at all of that.
No,
Right, yeah.
but
Because I looked at Lydia's social media before we recorded this, and she is booked and blessed into the spring already.
Nice. Good.
Right. But no, this is exciting. So again, we're going to follow Lydia's travels through RuPaul, and hopefully they bring home a crown back to Pittsburgh, right? So looking forward to doing that. So just as we start to wrap up here, right? Because it's our very first podcast. What was and we're wrapping up 2024. What were some of your favorite moments of 2024? And I hate to put you on the spot right now, but
I can go
let's
first.
do it. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll actually start off.
Okay.
This Pride was my very first Pride that I've ever attended.
Whoa.
So it was a lot of fun. I went with some of my friends at the university.
Okay.
Went to the parade. Got a bunch of merch. Went over to the park there. Got some good food. Got to see Dr. Joe Biden. That was cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it was just great to be surrounded by people in our community. And, where I grew up in a small rural town about an hour north of here, you don't see a lot of people like us, or maybe not feeling comfortable to come out in an area like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very healing too, and very exciting. And I'm looking forward to being here this year and talking to all of you at Pride.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jim?
I think for me, it's multiple small moments that are my favorite. I think 2024 was the first year in which I really got feedback in the terms of like people were saying, "Oh, I found my community because of QBurgh.
Mm-hmm.
I found these great events that are going on that I had no idea about because of QBurgh. I planned my weekend because of what QBurgh put out." And it was really like this overwhelming sense that we have actually created something that is so beneficial to the community. I don't know what folks did before QBurgh existed, but if we can help keep people finding their tribe, as some people say, finding their vibe, whatever it is, I'm so glad that we can help.
Right, exactly. So, and again, my favorite moment of 2024 was when I left the corporate America job.
Woo!
And I'm at QBurgh now full time.
Yeah.
So, still volunteering, unfortunately.
Unpaid staff.
Unpaid staff, right. So, for a moment, right?
Yeah, for now.
But so happy and so proud of what QBurgh's able to accomplish.
Right.
And what we've done so far on the limited time that we've actually, or the available time that we've had. And now with this additional time and effort, and 2025 is going to be an incredible year for not only QBurgh, but our community as well. When you feel something, you know it. And I know it. I know this is going to happen for us, and it's going to happen for our community, and there's going to be a lot of great things happening here. So let's like cheers to 2025. I wish that we had something to cheer with, but unfortunately we don't. And I think that we're out of time, and for the very first one, I think this went well. Yeah. Any closing thoughts at all? Nebby, Nick? You're never at a loss for words.
2025 is going to be a great year. I'm looking forward to everything that we're going to do, but just for our community in the year and years ahead. We have a lot to do, a lot of work to do, but I'm looking forward to it, and I'm ready.
Right, to being a part of it.
Well, congratulations on your first video podcast.
Yeah.
How about that?
Thank you so
Do
much
we look
for
good?
having me.
4K? Are we in 4K?
Are we?
And I know you can't see them, but
HD.
there are some producers behind the scenes keeping us moving here. So thank you to them so much.
To Tanner and Wayne, thank you so much. And thank you again to our listeners, our viewers. We can say viewers now. How about that? So we really appreciate you tuning in and listening. And hey, just don't forget, stay proud, Pittsburgh.